All right. Jimmy Tracker. All right. Notification out.
We ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of NASCAR by the Numbers. You got me, William Richard, your typical host of NASCAR Opinion, and obviously my other half is.
What's going on, everybody? My internet's kind of sucking right now, unfortunately.
Now, Armani.
Yep. Sorry, the internet's kind of sucking right now on this end.
All right, there we go. We got Armani in there. His internet going back and forth. Hey, everybody. We've been talking about the show. We've been previewing the show. We're obviously ready to rock and roll for what's going to be a really good race day today, hopefully. We're crossing our fingers that the weather's holding off. Armani, how you feeling, man?
Feeling good about today. You know, we've had 2 rain delays in a row for NASCAR, so hopefully we don't make it 3 in a row today. Though it looks like it's going to be a very decent chance it happens.
Hey, Bob Parker said he is cautiously optimistic, so we're going to roll with that.
All right. Can't complain about that.
Let's go ahead and get straight into it. Obviously, we haven't spoken since Las Vegas last week. So one thing we're going to try to do from now on is we're going to try to make the show pretty consistent and concise because we know, listen, it's race day. Fans want to be on social media. They want to listen to certain content. So we're honored to be a part of that content. But we want to be able to, get you out our thoughts and news, and then let's roll on. So we're going to start with Las Vegas from last week. Armani's going to go first. He's got a point about the race he wants to discuss. I'm going to have something I discuss about the race. We'll roll out the top 5 in the race and the points, and then we're gonna debut our new segment that Armani's going to be on top of all year, which is Jimmy Tracker. So he's a Jimmy Johnson fan. He's excited about it. Jimmy Tracker, kind of tracking Jimmy in his farewell tour. I'm going to give a little bit of information about Chevrolet at Fontana, and like I said, we'll be having conversation throughout all of this. And then the final part of the show, which you're going to want to make sure you stay for, which obviously you want to stay for all of it. We're going to talk a little bit Auto Club, and then we will be getting out our race winning prediction. So, Armani, start us off. What from Las Vegas do you want to discuss today?
All right. So since this is a NASCAR show, NASCAR by the Numbers, let's take a look at some points. Chase Elliott, probably the best car, the best long run car, obviously, and that showed in the stages. He swept stage 1, he swept stage 2. However, he didn't have that great of a finish. Finished 26 after that cut tire when he was battling, I think, Logano for the lead after pit stops. However, people like to crap on stages, and I'm not going to go into that controversy, but this is to show you how important stage points are nowadays. Like I said, Chase Elliott finished first in both stages. He swept stages, but he finished 26. However, you wouldn't think that if you wouldn't think the 26th place finish was really any good until you look at the point standings. Obviously, we're going to get off the top 5 in the point standings later on. However, Chase Elliott's only is 6th in the standings, only 20 points behind points leader Ryan Blaney. And that is because of those stages that he swept. That's 20 extra points. If he didn't score any stage points, if he scored less stage points, I guarantee you probably wouldn't even be inside the top 10 in points right now. So this just shows you how important stage points are nowadays. When Chase Elliott, he finishes 26, but because he swept the stages, he's only 1 point outside the top 5 in points.
I'm going to be honest. I did not even realize that because I was looking at the top 5 in the show. And I was probably thinking because he finished 17th in Daytona, I'm fairly certain. 27 before stages, Chase probably would be. He would have walked out of Daytona 16th or 17th in points because you maybe would have had one other car that wasn't going to be racing the second week. 26th place finish, he probably falls to 21st or 22nd in points. So instead of being 21st or 22nd in points, this dude is 6th in points right now. So, people talk about the stages or this and that. The stages do add a value. There are value to running well in these stages, to winning these stages. And along with him still being 6th in points, he's also got 2 playoff points, which is something I've been hard on Chase and that team about. They've got to show more in the postseason. One easier way to do that is to get more playoff points.
He actually has 3 playoff points. Remember, he won stage 1 of the Daytona.
Daytona actually got 3 this year, but obviously he gained 2 more at Vegas last week.
Yeah, so one thing that Chase Elliott is doing really well is while he's not getting the finishes, he's making up for it. At least he's making up for at least as best as he can in these stages.
I mean, for sure. I mean, and the thing is Chase at Daytona. So I thought he had a good car, but he never got back up to the front. And then you look at last week. I mean, last week was his race to almost lose. Have a freak accident where the valve stem gets cut by the tire changer. Probably should have won that race last week, which I still shy away from that because he's been terrible on restarts. And that last restart, he probably would have got smoked again. But push comes to shove, probably would have finished better than 26, valuable the stages are.
That's right. So you want to move on to the top 5 points right now?
Sure. So I want to talk about let me talk about the leaders actually pitting. So my thing from Vegas is everybody knew the controversy at the end was, should the leaders pit? We got a classic NASCAR, especially intermediate, strategy moment right there. You had, we knew that tires were falling off, which makes for a great race. They weren't dramatically falling off if you had 10 or 12 more laps, but once you get kind of go away. So I remember when the caution came out late, I think it was for Chastain spinning off of 2. I tweeted out, if I'm 4th on back, I'm coming to pit road because, and maybe you could even argue 5th on back. If you're not in the first 2 rows, you're not really going to have a chance. But I just felt if I'm 4th on back, I'm coming to pit road. Well, in turn, both the leaders pit and a handful of others, I think you ended up with 6 or 7 cars that stayed out because I myself had forgot that they had like 35 laps on their tires. Joey Logano said he should have pit. Who knows if they really should have pit or made an executive call, whatever it is. But Ryan Blaney was the leader. Alex Bowman was running second, which people have asked me. I think Blaney would have won that race if it stayed green. Bowman have laps where he caught him and then he would lose too. It would have been interesting to see. Those two both pit. And now you go green with 2 laps to go and you've got a 6 or 7 car buffer. And that was the big kind of controversy. So first, before I give any more detail on Armani, if you were Ryan Blaney or Alex Bowman, do you pit right there when the caution comes out?
That's a good question because it's like, here's the thing. With the Jimmy Johnson, he didn't pit. And, he did pit. He was starting, I think, outside the top 10. And he charged his way up to 5th. And if he didn't get that block by Tyler Reddick with 2 to go, I'm pretty sure he would at least he probably would have finished maybe 3rd or even 2nd. So tires were valuable, but it was just the time was too little to where I don't think they would have meant enough, especially when you have a car like Blaney's or Bowman's where, it's like, well, the thing with Alex Bowman's car is that it seemed more like it was a long run car. So in the short run, it might not be able to do much. But Blaney, he kind of had that car like in the middle where he was able to, do something in the short runs and then do something in the long runs. So Blaney, I think he should have stayed out. Bowman, because of how his car ran most of the day, I think it would have been more justified if he pitted more than Blaney, just because of how his car seemed to handle most of the day.
Which is a fair point because we really didn't hear about Alex Bowman until like 7 laps to go. I mean, Bowman really was good all day long. And remember, at some point earlier in the race, when Chase was still leading, and I think Blaney was second or third, they had said Chase and Blaney weren't showing as much drop off as some other people on old tires. So it would have been an interesting dynamic. And I just don't know. It's hard to make that call. You could always say, well, if Blaney and them stayed out, then everybody else would have picked. You never know. And a good thing that you mentioned about the Jimmy Johnson, because he was absolute flying through the top 5 on that final restart, is you got to remember the yellow came out with still 3/4 of a lap to go. There's no telling if Jimmy could have maybe got another spot or 2 if he would have been able to have a bigger run down the back stretch into 3. You never know what would have happened. I don't think he was still too far back to do anything. But one thing that blocked out the value of those tires is instead of running entire 2 laps, we ran 1. But I think at the end of the day, this is going to be for a lot of people. This is, every now and then you kind of got to be reminded how important something is like tires or strategy. I think this is something that they're learning. Okay, we've learned our lesson. 2 laps, it may actually be enough time to hold off a few cars. So we'll see what it goes. If I was on that front row, if I was 1st or 2nd, it is hard. People have said it's hard to be on the front row of a NASCAR Cup Series race with 2 laps to go, period. Doesn't matter what track you're at. You don't get that opportunity many times. it's hard to just sit there and say, we're going to throw it away and we're going to pit. And it didn't pay off. You ended up looking – so Blaney finishes 11th, Bowman finishes 13th. Now, Blaney, I think, had some contact and some issues on the racetrack. That kind of mired him back there. People got to remember, again, they only had a lap, and there was a big wreck with multiple cars floating here and sliding there and spinning off into there. So, it was real choppy in that race. Bowman, I don't really know if he was caught up in all that. I really don't know. But, again, it was weird. I could almost see the reverse of what you said earlier is maybe it would actually have made sense more for Blaney to pit in Bowman's because we don't know what kind of car Bowman had. Bowman had not been in, and all of a sudden he was there trying to track down the leader. But either way, it is what it is. So throw me, what in the world, what did the top five end up looking like from last week?
All right, let's take a look at this top five. So we got a pair of Fords. We got a pair of Fords at the top two steps of the podium. Joey Logano, obviously, with the win, 54 laps led. He collects 5 playoff points. Matt DiBenedetto ties his career best finish of second in Las Vegas. He was in the top 10 basically all race long, around like the 7th to 8th position. So second place is a great run for him. Great way to start off his new relationship with the Wood Brothers. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Brian Petty gets a lot of crap as a crew chief, but he played this race perfectly in the final stage. He was around the top 15 kind of all race long, but then he stayed out, I think it was the end of stage 3, and he was still around the top 5, top 10. He was able to hold on. And then the caution came out. He took right side tires, I think, to keep that track just a little bit more. And just wet everything that just like fell with the cautions and everything. It fell into their hands, and they finished third. And I think Stenhouse is, well, we'll get to when we talk about the point standings. But Rick Stenhouse Jr., P3 finish. He's having a great start to the season, winning the pole to the Daytona 500. I think I heard somewhere that JTG has a stronger Hendrick alliance now than they did before. So, I mean, you could be seeing that with Ricky. I mean, you're kind of seeing that right now with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That's the case. Austin Dillon in fourth. His first top 5 finish since Michigan of, I think it was August of 2018. So, started 21st. I mean, that's a great start to the season for Austin Dillon, especially at the horrendous season RCR had last year. Austin Dillon, he needs to prove some haters wrong. He needs to prove some doubters wrong. I don't even think he was running inside the top. I think he was running inside the top 10 for a good portion of the day. So great run for Austin Dillon. And rounding out the top 5 is my boy, Jimmy Johnson. Started 5th, started 18th, finished 5th. Obviously, with those fresh tires, I believe if they had maybe an extra lap or two, there was 4 laps to go or maybe 3 laps to go, he probably would have caught Logano. That's just my opinion. I also think what hindered him where he finished 5th. He probably could have finished maybe even 3rd or 2nd if Tyler Reddick didn't try to block him going down the backstretch. I think if that never had happened, Reddick didn't do that, I think Jimmy probably would have finished maybe 3rd or 2nd. So let's look at your top 5.
Yeah, and then, one note that I want to say about that is Stenhouse. They're playing it. Him and Brian Patty are clicking right now. I feel like they're both feeling the pressure of being somewhere new. A lot of people don't expect them to do a ton in that car. And right now, they've ran great in the both first 2 races. Probably should have had a better result in Daytona than they did. But they've led a lot of laps. I think they're in the top 5 of laps led so far this year. Finished 3rd at Vegas. Beautiful strategy. They played all day, fell straight to their head. So a great job there. And now looking at the top 5 in points, one thing we've talked about, and I don't really look at the points a lot until it really starts to matter. So we get 8, 9, 10 races in. But it's interesting to look at the top 5 in points right now. So leading your points right now is if I had to, and I know you've looked at it, so I'm not going to ask you if you had to guess because I know it's hard to guess when you already know the answer. But if I had to guess, I maybe would have thought, I guess not really, Denny. I really didn't have a guess to who was leading the points because we only had 2 races, and it seems like if you ran at Daytona, you may have ran rough at Vegas and vice versa. But Ryan Blaney is actually your points leader right now. Really solid start to the year. I think this is going to be a career year for Blaney, maybe not in terms of winning 5, 6, 7 races, but I predicted I think he wins multiple races for the first time. And Blaney's looking good, man. He's leading the points right now. He's had a strong start to the year. And Penske as a whole is running well. And second in points, to note that, is Joey Logano. Logano obviously has a win. Logano's he's one of the top tier competitors in this series right now. So Logano's going to continue to run well. Third in points, you're looking at Kevin Harvick. You're always going to see Harvick. Harvick's going to pester you all year about points, and he's one of the best in the garage. Fourth is Kyle Larson, who's had a sneaky good year. Kevin Harvick and Kyle Larson, interesting fact, are the only 2 drivers to have top 10s in the first 2 races of the year. So remember last year when Kyle Busch did this crazy 15 or whatever the race was streak of top 10s and was on streak to have top 10s in pretty much every race of the year. There's only 2 drivers that are eligible for that now. already through week 2. It's Kevin Harvick and Kyle Larson. And then finally, 5th in points is, and I know Armani wanted to spill his guts on it earlier because he's loved it, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky Stenhouse running 5th in points right now. Huge start for JTG. It's going to be interesting if they can keep it up. This is going to be another week where you're really going to test them. But if they can maybe escape this week, top 5, top 6 in points, I'm going to slow down on any kind of playoffs and this and that, but you've at least got to recognize that team.
Yeah, kind of like Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s had like a lot of flack, especially after he kind of destroyed like a third of the field at Daytona back in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of it's like, he's kind of like getting that treatment. It's like, like I wanted Ricky Stenhouse Jr. when we got to I wanted him to prove the haters wrong. I'm not a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. fan, believe me. But, I'd really like to see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. prove the haters wrong, say why he still think that, because when he got fired from Roush Fenway Racing, people were praising it. And so, it's like, you know what? Wherever Stenhouse lands, he needs to prove the haters wrong. And, I mean, he's doing that. I mean, you win the pole for the 500. You lead like almost like 30 laps in the race. I don't know if he led the most laps. I think that was Denny Hamlin, though. So he goes out. He leads, I think, like the second most laps, wins the pole, guarantees himself in the clash for life. And he finishes top 5 in Las Vegas with some excellent strategy. Again, going back to proving the haters wrong, like I said before, Brian Patty, he's a crew chief that's been getting a lot of flack recently. And he plays his strategy at Las Vegas to perfection to get a top 5 finish. So, I mean, Stenhouse, I'm not going to say playoffs yet because, again, we're only 2 races in. We still got like 28 races to go. So, but keep an eye out. That's all I'm going to say. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, they're doing it to watch for. So, now, debuting a new segment. We've talked about it. I know Armani's excited about it. He gets to talk about who he claims to be his boy, even though I have no clue if we've ever met him once. It is time for the NASCAR by the numbers Jimmy Tracker. So obviously, me and Armani were brainstorming the other night. What is something we can add to the show? It's too early to talk about playoffs. It's too early to talk about this and that. What is something we can do every single week, consistent, that we feel like people will enjoy? And that is tracking Mr. 7-time Jimmy Johnson on his farewell tour. So Armani, I'm going to give it to you for a couple of minutes. What you got for us?
All right, so debuting the Jimmy Tracker. So Jimmy Johnson had a very good race at Las Vegas. I mean, Hendrick Motorsports is great in general, but Jimmy Johnson, he's, besides Chase Elliott, he seemed to be the one that, benefited the most. Points in all stages. He finished 9th in stage 1, and he finished 7th in stage 2. So, bottom half of the top 10, but he collected some good stage points. If I do my math right, I think he got 5 stage points. And then obviously he kind of got mired back in like the 15th position after he had contact with the wall. But, like he didn't pin. He was starting to work his way back up. When the caution came out, Ross Chastain, I think he was running like 10th at the time. And then Cliff Daniels decides, bring Jimmy Johnson down pit road, collect 4 tires, all that stuff. And like I said before, he was charging his way through the field. I mean, like he passed like probably like 7 cars coming out of turn 2. Probably would have gone to like I said, 3rd if Tyler Reddick didn't pull that block on him down the backstretch. But he still managed to get underneath Tyler Reddick and come into the white flag. I think he and Bubba Wallace were actually side by side for a top 5 finish. But Jimmy Johnson beat out Bubba and he finished 5th, his first top 5 since the July Daytona race. So we're talking almost like 8-9 months since Jimmy Johnson scored a top 5 finish. And the previous years, I mean, like it took Jimmy Johnson, I think it took in 2017, I think Jimmy Johnson's first top 5 was his win at Texas. 2018, I think his first top 5 was, I believe, it was Bristol. And then last year, his first top 5 was Texas again. So, I mean, to get a top 5 in the second race of the season is a great start for the 7-time champion. We talked about the top 5 in points, but since this is the Jimmy Tracker, he is right now currently sitting 11th in the standings. 2 starts, 1 top 5, 1 top 10. I mean, he got wrecked out of the Daytona 500, unfortunately. Had a fast car at the 500, probably would have finished top 10. Obviously, that didn't happen, but that's in the past. That was 2 weeks ago. So he's sitting 11th in points. Technically, yeah, he's sitting 11th in points, 11th on the playoff grid, too, because, those are 2 different things, basically. Sitting 25 points behind leader Ryan Blaney. So Jimmy Johnson, I mean, he could very well, I mean, technically anyone could come out of here with the points lead. I think even Corey LaJoie could sweep the stages in the race, and he could come out with the points lead after the race if things go haywire. But Jimmy Johnson having a very good start to the season. And, I mean, he's leading laps quicker. I mean, he only led 3 laps this season, but I mean, that's more. That's quicker to when he started leading laps, and like I said, those other 3 years combined. So he's choosing an interesting time. His farewell tour. He's choosing an interesting time to start. Ramping back up again. I always kind of had like this little conspiracy where it's like Jimmy was like back in 2018. He's like, okay, you know what? I already accomplished everything. I'm just gonna just hold back a little bit. It's like just relax a little bit. And then like everyone started saying that he was washed up, so he's like, okay, no, we're getting back into it. That's a little conspiracy I had, because I always say it just doesn't make sense how someone can go from winning a championship to only scoring 2 top fives in a season. Like that just doesn't happen. Like that just doesn't happen unless he sold his soul to the devil to win the 7th title.
One word for you. And this one word is the perfect for our next segment. The one word is Camaro. Camaro is your one word that exactly explains, what I think is throwing Jimmy Johnson off, and I think that's going to be something that they're gaining on, obviously. But Camaro has been the biggest reason why Jimmy has had that problem, which parlays us into the very next thing, and that is Chevrolet at Fontana. So my biggest thing is I wanted to look at Chevrolet at Fontana. Chevy has been something, Fontana used to be one of Chevy's houses for a while. It was almost like you could do no wrong in a Chevrolet at Fontana. So I really wanted to break stuff down, and I really kind of went back from 2014 until now. So we've got 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 6 years of kind of some statistics on here. So in 2014, you had 22 Chevys that were in the field at the Auto Club 400. They had an average finish of 18.5. So obviously realize that an average finish when you have 22 cars, you have half the field. I mean, there's going to be some bottom feeders, there's going to be a lot at the top, but 18.5. 2015, we once again brought 22 Chevrolets to Auto Club with an average finish of 17.86. So when you have that many cars, half the field, you average a 17th to 18th place finish. That is a big deal. That means you've ran fairly well throughout the single day. Now we go to 2016. We see a little bit of a drop-off. 21 Chevrolets showed up. And I believe the Camaro, this is only the 3rd year, so they're still running the SS at this point. Their average finish was 19.95. So they're dropping a little bit, but still top 20 finish. So the first 3, 14, 15, and 16, they have top 20 average finish. We go to 2017, 17 Chevy show up. So obviously Chevrolet has shifted, and there's only a few more. There's a few less Chevrolets in the field. Instead of 21, 22, we're down to 17. Average finish is 21.47. Well, here's the interesting part. Then you start going to the Camaro. So the first year of the Camaro, nothing too bad. I average a 20.76 finish with 17 Chevys. Then you bring 17 Chevys in 2019 and have a 22nd average place finish. The biggest issue has been the Camaro at Auto Club. Camaro or Chevy has also not won at the race at Auto Club since 2017 when Kyle Larson won in the last race there with the SS. So I think it's been pretty interesting to note that. In 2016, 5 Chevrolets finished in the top 10. In 2017, 3 Chevys finished in the top 10. 2018, 3 Chevys in the top 10. And in 2019, last year, only 2 Chevrolets managed to finish in the top 10 at Auto Club, and that was Kurt Busch and Austin Dillon. So it's been interesting to see because Chevy used to dominate at Auto Club, and I think the biggest thing is Auto Club is a huge aero track, and this, I've said, it's going to take another 2-3 weeks to really find out what Chevrolet has in store for us this year, but this is a big aero track. This is a real solid test because if you don't have the aero right, you're not going to run well today. So I think it's going to be interesting, announced around, but with the new Camaro, they haven't made fewer car average finishes as a whole manufacturer. So I think it's going to be interesting Chevrolet can do today.
Yeah, and if you look at the practice time, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, if you look at the practice times, really, I mean, it seems to be like it started that momentum from. I mean, I don't like to use the word momentum, but like it seems like, Las Vegas is starting to like carry over from to Auto Club. I mean, Bowman, he swept the practices. I think you had like even like Austin Dillon. You had a bunch of Chevys inside the top 10 in practice too. Qualifying, I mean, you have was it like 2 or 3 Chevys inside the top 5 with Jimmy Johnson, Alex Bowman. I don't remember exactly how many there is, but I have to check. I'll check later on. But Chevrolet seems to be like taking that momentum that they got from Las Vegas, and they're starting to translate it. So I think this could be a good day for Chevrolet too. Um, Going off another manufacturer, let's talk about Toyota. What's going on with Toyota?
They're struggling right now. They're going to have to figure something out. And that actually face pick for today, which we'll get to here in a minute. Toyota's. I'm not going to sit there and say they're this and that. It's been 2 races, right? Daytona, they ran fine. The Toyota won at Daytona. Las Vegas, Martin Truex Jr. had a fast pace, and he ended up getting some issues. Now, the other cars had some problems. Today is going to – I'm not really worried. Today, if they struggle, then I'll be worried. And don't get me wrong, practice speeds and qualifying speeds, they haven't shown a great sign. But if they don't race well today, then I'm definitely concerned.
Yeah, to go off that, 5 Chevrolets inside the top 10 for qualifying. You got Jimmy Johnson, Alex Bowman, and Kurt Busch inside the top 5, 2nd through 4th. And you got Kyle Larson and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 9th through 10th. And, you got a couple of Chevrolets inside the top 15 too. But the highest Toyota is Kyle Busch in 17th.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Toyota, but go ahead.
Someone asked me, what do I think? My only guess could be that maybe, this year, honestly, is kind of a waste year. If you think about it, a lot of teams could look at it that way. You're waiting on the next gen car. So I think maybe what could have happened is Toyota was just kind of happy with what they had in 2019, and they thought it was going to automatically Final Four competing with Chevrolet worked very hard in the offseason. So I think it could be a thing to where Toyota, in a sense, I'm not going to say lazy, but they were content in the offseason. Meanwhile, Ford is still working. Chevrolet's working their tails off to have a good 2020, and maybe that could be the case.
Yeah, that could be the case too. And, I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out today if that'll translate. So I think we got everything we need to talk about. So if you want to transition to picks,
it's straight into picks. So I want to hear yours first because me and you have made a vow. We're not telling each other's picks until we get on this show. So I want to hear how you came up with it and what is your pick for today's Auto Club 400.
All right, so I looked through the past couple Auto Club races, really ever since this guy got with his current organization. And then I also looked today, this week he hasn't been too flashy in practice. He was okay in qualifying. However, he has, I think, like 4 straight top 5 finishes at Auto Club, including last year, and like 5 straight top 10 finishes. He hasn't won an Auto Club yet. And he's part of probably Auto Club's most famous, finish ever. I think the 2018 champ, Joey Logano, is going to go back-to-back and he's going to get his first Auto Club win.
I see you. Now, here's what I did. I just went down the list and say, who do I think's winning? I had 5 drivers in my group. Of those 5 drivers, we had Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, and Jimmy Johnson. And I kind of just tried to compare everything. I looked at practices, where they were first practice, second practice, where they qualified, average finish. So here's a little bit of the details of why I picked a certain driver. I'm just going to get out some keynotes, and then I'm going to give you my pick. So for one thing that's interesting when you look at it is Jimmy Johnson sticks out. He's got 6 wins here. He has an average finish of 7.6, and that's out of like 25 starts. He's starting second, fast in first practice, not so fast in second practice. Kyle Larson has been fairly solid all weekend. Second fastest in first practice, 8th in second practice. He qualified 9th. He has a 6.33 average finish. Never mind. He has a 13.67 average finish. And his last 3 races, he's averaged a 5th place finish. So Larson's going to be a factor today. Kevin Harvick, he has 26 starts. In his last 5, he has an 11.2 average finish. But he's fallen off a little bit lately. Harvick does start 5th. He didn't have a great speed in practice, but I never look at Kevin Harvick's practice speed because he's more about comfort and making sure that car's going to drive well on race day. And so kind of going through here, I said, I don't know if I can roll with Jimmy today. I think Jimmy has a shot, and I will not be surprised if Jimmy wins today. I think it would be the perfect story, sort of a home track kind of feel, kind of a homecoming there. Harvick's always good and competitive here. Larson's bad pass at 2-mile tracks. But The guy I am picking to win today, and I'm not 100% comfortable with it. I never really am. There's not one car that I think sticks out like a sore thumb, but if there was close to being a car that sticks out like a sore thumb, that is going to be, drum roll please, Alex Bowman will win today's Auto Club 400. Everyone swears that I hate Alex, that think I don't like him, that think I don't think he's talented, but yet I am going to take him today to get his second career Cup Series win at Auto Club Speedway.
Hey, man, we know Alex Bowman is your favorite driver. You love him so much.
I look at it this way. So here's the thing. He was fastest. It was fastest in first practice, fastest in second practice. He qualified third. I did a little average of everybody. Like, where were you? Let me average where you were in first practice, second practice, and qualifying. His average is 1.67. His average finish here is 22.5. 22nd place is his average finish. With Hendrick Motorsports, because everybody, he only has 2 starts with Hendrick. Everybody's going to say, well, BK Racing. His average finish with Hendrick is a 17.0, a 17th place finish. But what gives me a little bit of confidence is he's never started better than 23rd. Usually he's mired back in the field, and he just hadn't been able to have the car for most of his way through the field. Today he starts third. Chevrolet looks bad fast. His car seems to be fast. I'm not 100% sold. Today's going to be a big day for Alex in kind of his racing career, I think. I think all eyes kind of need to be when he's in a situation where he has a really good race car, what can he do with it? I'm not saying you have to win to prove anybody wrong, but you've got to have a solid day. It was kind of a mix between him and Blaney. I think Blaney's going to be strong, but I'm going to roll with the 88 car. I'm a little nervous about it, but that's who I'm picking.
Good pick. So I got Joey Logano. You got Alex Bowman.
I guess that's what we're going to have to deal with for now. Logano wasn't even on my list. I should at least put him on the freaking list.
I was going to pick Logano because of the momentum, and then I saw his Auto Club finishes, and I was all right, I'm picking Logano.
Yeah, I mean, Logano's good. And I mean, from that being said, that's all I've got, man. I hope it's going to be a good race day. I'm crossing my fingers that the rain does not bother us today. We've seen enough rain. It's like a 45 to 50% chance all day long. I don't think Auto Club has lights. If they did, we wouldn't use them. So, I don't freaking know. Luckily, here's the good thing about this on the East Coast. Remember, they're 3 hours ahead of us. So they, it might be 7, 8 o'clock our time, but they can still run the race. Obviously, they got rain pretty much out there all day. Hope it doesn't bother us. But with that said, Armani, I got nothing else, man. What you got?
I got nothing else either.
Well, let's head out of here. Everybody, thank you for watching NASCAR by the Numbers. We're going to try to progress ourselves and talk about what we can do better. Obviously, let us know if you've been watching. Message us on Twitter or wherever. You can get in contact with us. Let us know what we can do better. And with that said, that's NASCAR by the Numbers. We'll see you next week.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.